Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to How to Care for You in 22. I'm Kelly Henderson with Formed Families Forward. I am so pleased to welcome Monique Lialiakos. I hope I'm saying that right. She will correct me for our lunchtime webinar on self-care. We're going to get started in just a minute. I want to just do a few housekeeping specifics because we are using a platform called GoToWebinar, which may be new to folks that have been in the Zoom world. You should have a set of pods on the right-hand side, probably of your screen. They're the sort of grayish bluish pods with words in them and little drop-down arrows. You can adjust your audio. You can also chat in your questions. So using that questions pod, if you click on that arrow, in the questions pod, you should have space to type in your question. And that's probably the most direct way to contact us, Lisa and I from Formed Families Forward, and help guide the questions and comments to Dr. Lialiakos. So use that questions pod throughout the session. We also want to let you know that we are recording this and we will post the recording after the session today, so you can always go back in our website to resources page and access the recording and the handouts. Speaking of handouts, there's a handouts pod, and in there you will find a copy of Dr. Lialiakos' slides. So you can get a set, download those and have a set of the slides she's going to be using. If you need a certificate of attendance for today, please email us at info@formedfamiliesforward.org and we will get you that certificate. If you're watching this in recording, likewise, email us after you've watched the recording and we'll get you a certificate of attendance. Just a few words about what and who we are at Formed Families Forward. We are a family-led resource center. We work with Northern Virginia foster, adoptive, and kinship families who are raising children, youth, and young adults with special needs. We work also hand in hand with our youth and the professionals who serve our families. We do our work through lots of free training, consultations to families directly, events, resources, trainings of all kinds. We also have some peer support groups I'll talk about in just a moment. We have lots and lots of resources on our website. We are also the family partner to the Virginia Tiered Systems of Support. If your school system uses an MTSS or PBIS model, we are a family partner to that system. My email is there at the bottom. I am Kelly Henderson, and I am really pleased to direct Formed Families Forward. With us today is Lisa Matthey, our training and administrative coordinator, who is helping us with all things technology. I mentioned the peer support groups. Our first one that I want to mention is for youth and young adults from ages 14 to 22. This is open to any type of, any youth who could benefit, so regardless of their family structure, if they're interested in receiving in-person peer support from their peers, and we have clinicians who facilitate that, please join us. Learn more about our Stronger Together groups. I believe that Lisa is chatting in the link there for that registration. They meet 2 Tuesday nights a month here in Fairfax City. The other peer support group I wanted to mention is our Formed Families Together, and that is for parents and caregivers formed through foster care, adoption, or kinship care. And there are two options. There's a virtual option on the first Sunday of the month, and a in-person option also here in Fairfax, the third Wednesday of the month. And those are led by peer facilitators. And again, I think Lisa is providing you the link to that information directly. We are also, in addition to this wonderful session today, we are running a series on fetal alcohol spectrum disorders, a condition that impacts a lot of foster, adoptive, and kinship families. That is about halfway through, but our recordings of our first two are available online on our website, and you are more than welcome and invited to sign up for the next two on Thursday the 20th and Thursday the 27th. And you can find all that information on our website, formedfamiliesforward.org. And with no further delay, I am going to turn it over to Dr. Lialiakos. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks so much, Kelly. So hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Dr. Lialiakos, and so you were close, Kelly. I am I just wanted to take a minute just to tell you a little bit about me, and then we're going to jump right into this presentation. Okay, very excited about the presentation today. It's something that I created specifically for this group today. Kelly and I had talked about this many months ago, and it was just an idea. And as you know, as the idea, kind of got closer, I started to think about, what I might need and what some other people might need or might want to discuss, because I'm hoping we can have somewhat of a discussion. You can put your questions in the chat, or I think we can also make it live for you if you wanted to actually speak your questions or your thoughts about what you're hearing. But again, a little bit about me. So I have my doctorate in social work. I have my bachelor's degree and master's degree in social work. So I'm like a social worker. I really believe in the field. I'm like, my friends call me a tree hugging social worker. So I guess that kind of means that I'm like super emotional sometimes, but I'm also very, like factual and driven. I think the one thing I wanted to share with you all is the reason why I wanted to do a presentation for self-care and kinship caregivers is because I'm also a grandparent caregiver of an almost 16-year-old young man who I've been caring for since he was a baby, pretty much since he was born. And as time went on, very early on, we noticed that he had some special needs that, have been identified as autism spectrum disorder. He's got some ADHD, a lot of anxiety and depression. And these are things that we've been managing like throughout his 16 years. One of the things that I will say is that he was at one point nonverbal, and the outlook did not look good in the beginning because of the nonverbal and the behaviors that went along with some of the spectrum disorder. And over time, with the right therapies, with the right, I'm a fighter to the nth degree. So the fighting, the right therapies, the right support, he's got an IEP. He's in the 10th grade and in a gen ed environment, and he's progressed extremely well. And I think if there's one thing that I'd like for people to take away from today is I know what it's like to have the right supports in place. I also know the importance of taking care of yourself. And I'll be honest, I didn't always know that. I was like all on board for him, and like being a social worker and trying to care for a special needs grandchild and trying to just do life, work and everything else like that. It's easy to burn out, as I'm sure many of you may know, being kinship caregivers yourself. So again, I'm hoping that this presentation kind of touches on certain areas that maybe you all have experienced. I'm hoping that maybe it'll just remind you of some of the things that maybe we can do when we think about self-care. And then towards the end, I just wanted to take you all through a nice guided meditation, because if you haven't had an opportunity to do that this week, I think today would be a nice time for us to just take a few minutes and breathe together. So I wanted to try to do that. In addition to being a doctor and blah, 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 I wanted to let you know, higher purpose, coaching and mentoring. So, I provide mentoring, coaching, mental wellness services. Mental health has come a long way. And I like to say mental wellness because it's not just therapy that I provide, it's being with people that I provide and supporting people and helping people get over certain things that I provide. So, I'm excited about that. And if you're interested in any of those services, my information is towards the end of the slide. And I know that you'll, at the end of the slides, and I know that you'll get a copy of these slides. Okay. All right. So I just told you a little bit about who I am, right? Why am I conducting the presentation? Well, it's twofold. I said it. I'm a grandparent caregiver raising a grandchild with some mental health stuff and other stuff. And, I think the thing that I really want to point out is the mental health stuff for me was easier to deal with than some of the emotional other stuff that came up for me and my grandson as I was raising him, and questions about why can't I be raised by one of my parents, you know, those kinds of things. And those things still come up, and it's not that he doesn't appreciate everything that I do, because he knows that I love him hard and he loves me hard, you know. And you know, he still has those questions, which are valid and relevant, right? So with all of these things coming up, again, sometimes we do need to take a step back and think about, what do we need as caregivers? And so I'm hoping, again, that we can talk a little bit about that. What would I like for you all to get out of the presentation? Something. Just take away something. I don't care what it is. If you can take something away, I feel like I did my job, right? I love that Kelly said that there's like a evaluation at the end. I do want you all to know that this presentation was created specifically for this group. And here's the wonderful thing. I can tweak it whatever way you all would like to tweak it if you wanted to hear more about self-care and kinship caregivers. So I am open to doing that as well. All right. The goals. I want to provide information for kinship caregivers, help increase and enhance awareness on self-care, identify the benefits of self-care and self-regulation for communicating and problem solving with school and other communities, provide examples on different types of self-care, and provide a platform for kinship caregivers to connect and share with each other. All right, so I'm a visual learner, and so you'll see throughout this presentation little pictures of things, and that's one, it helps me to like center, and then the other thing, it helps me to tell little stories. So this picture, right? It's I've done many presentations. I've been a social worker for like 23 years now. So this picture probably has followed me throughout my 23 years in presentations. It always shows up, you know. And I think that you know, what it means for me now is when I started to raise my grandson, I would look at this picture and I would say, wow, that kind of reminds me of what me and Dennis go through, right? Like, I love him hard, he loves me hard, and we're going through all of these like bushes and all of this craziness in life, and like trying to part through things so that we can get to the other side, and some wellness and healing and feeling good about each other. So this picture is very emotional for me a lot of times when I see it, because it really does kind of remind me of the struggle that I've gone through with my grandson and where we are today. Next slide. So I don't know if you all knew this, but there are a growing number of kinship caregivers raising children from family members and friends in the United States. According to the US Census Bureau, 4% of all kids, more than 2.65 million children, are in kinship care in the United States. These caregivers may be relatives such as grandparents, like myself, great-grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, siblings, godparents, and or close friends who are raising kids when their parents can't raise them. Kinship caregivers may have significant challenges raising children, such as children's attachment issues, physical and mental disabilities, financial challenges, stress, education, special needs, and feelings of loss due to issues related to the biological parent. So I don't know about you all, but I've gone through all of those things. So I don't know if you can identify or not identify. And Lisa, you can let me know if anything comes up and you want, and I should take a pause if somebody has questions or anything else like that, or thoughts. Okay, if they want to share a thought. Okay, thanks. So moreover, kinship caregivers may have challenges accessing community supports for themselves and the children they're raising. They may have challenges accessing mental health supports, school support, community, financial supports, and medical supports. And again, I just wanted to share a little bit about that, just identification kind of thing, So when my grandson, he was about 18 months old, and he and I had developed some communication between the two of us, right? He would point, he would grunt, he would do all kinds of things. And somehow I knew what he needed. And then I tried to get him in preschool, and the teachers were like, you need to get early intervention in here because you may understand this kid, but we don't, right? And so when you drop him off, we don't understand what he needs. We can't do the grunting thing. We can't do the pointing thing. I mean, we may understand some things, but so very early on, around 18 months old, he started his first bout of mental health services. And at that time, he received speech, occupational therapy, physical therapy, regular therapy at 18 months old. He didn't really talk, but regular therapy. And then we started to look into different doctors, pediatricians that kind of specialized in some of the things that he needed. He also had a gait issue, which, now you can see he walks with swag. He says, I walk with swag, but one of his hips is slightly higher than the other. So, and we tried to address that too with orthotics. Like they had built these special orthotic shoes. He wouldn't have it. He used to throw them at me. So all of this, and then all the medical stuff, all the mental health stuff. And then, okay, from preschool, right? He's needing supports. And then I'm a single grandparent caregiver raising this kid. So believe me, there were a lot of financial issues that came into play with that. All right, so we're talking about kinship caregivers and special needs, with special needs. And I told you a little bit about my grandson. So if a child has special needs, kinship caregivers may be juggling appointments with mental health therapists, occupational therapists, physical therapists, speech therapists, psychiatrists, ophthalmologists, allergists, and asthma specialists. Fortunately, he didn't have asthma. Like everything else he had, I mean, if you could throw it at me, it was thrown at me 100%, right? And, I don't know if you all can relate to that, any of you that are, kind of managing a special needs grandchild. But, I threw this stuff in there because I know it can be so challenging and so difficult. And like, I was battling this stuff on my own, trying to manage my grandson. I know even if you're with a partner, that could just be another issue in and of itself, like trying to manage a partner and your special needs grandchildren or grandchild, I know we all have our story, but yeah. Ongoing appointments and emergencies can keep caregivers so busy that attending to their own feelings and needs may be put on hold, right? My feelings and needs were often put on hold. So, I mentioned that I'm a single grandparent caregiver, and I've raised my grandson for the last 16 years. So one of the things that, I've been looking at this, like, I'm like, gosh, what's the one thing that's been put on hold more than anything? A relationship with somebody else, because I had to have a relationship with my grandson, and I still had children too, right? And then trying to manage a relationship with myself, and go through school, get a doctorate, all these other things, right? So a lot of so things, and you all can think about what it looked like for you, but of course things were put on hold. Next slide, thank you. So what can self-care be, and why? We're going to talk a little bit about why is it important, right? But self-care can be all of these things. Asking for help. Can I say that again? Let's ask for help, please. Because, the thing is sometimes we feel like we can't ask for help. We're like, well, I'm managing this, right? We got all these balls in the air, and, no, it's good. It's good. And sometimes we do need help, and that help may look different for everybody. Spending time alone. So I just talked about, wanting to be with somebody. And to be honest, there were a lot of times where I just didn't want to be with anybody. Like I wanted to be alone, because it was, life is a lot. Putting yourself first. what does that look like, right? We'll talk a little bit more about that. And I hope to hear from you all about what does putting yourself first look like? Asking for what you need, setting boundaries. Setting boundaries. Gosh, I learned how to set boundaries. And honestly, you know, and during the time that I raised Dennis, so, you know, you all might think, hey, she's a social worker, so she probably worked for agencies that were like very understanding when she needed to take off, or her grandson was hospitalized, or, you know, all of the things that I went through with Dennis. And no, I worked for some very difficult people at times that made my life very challenging. And I often had to set boundaries and let people know, I come first, my family comes first. And if you can't deal with it, then perhaps I need to go elsewhere. So yes, I have left places because I had to set firm boundaries. Staying at home, saying no, forgiving yourself, and then taking a step back. Next slide. So kinship caregivers and self-care. Here we go. So we all know that self-care is crucial for kinship caregivers. The physical and emotional toll of caring for children, particularly children who may have experienced trauma, can be overwhelming. And I know that not just personally, but I also know that as a professional, because I'm also a certified trauma therapist, which can just take you somewhere else, right? Constantly hearing trauma. Anyway, additionally, the blame that children can project onto their caregiver because they are hurt by their situation may be draining for kinship caregivers. Children may express feelings of loss, hurt, anger, and despair. And so sometimes you may feel like you're the punching bag, whether it's verbally, physically, emotionally. You know, I know the gamut of feeling like, geez, kid, I'm just trying to take care of you, right? So next slide. Kinship caregivers are often challenged with trying to understand the complexities of raising a child that's been displaced from their parent. They're challenged with considering their child's unique needs and managing their own lives, right? So, you know, I just talked a lot about that with Dennis. Like, he had so many unique needs, right? And it wasn't that I didn't try to have relationships. I really did sometimes. And oh my God, it was always a catastrophe. It was just always disaster. And I was just like, okay, something's got to give. And so usually it was the person that had to go, right? You know, and you know, I think honestly, it's just my belief that we are designed to share our lives with people, whether it's with, you know, your person, your, you know, life partner person, or, you know, friends, other people. I know that we're not designed to go through life by ourselves. And I think one of the things that being a kinship caregiver has taught me on a very different level is that I need people. I need support. I need help, you know, and again, I'm sure you all feel that way. And that help may look different for different people. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about barriers to self-care. So I'm sure all of you have heard the statement, take care of yourself. Oh, Monique, you've got to take care of yourself, right? I feel like that phrase has become so worn out that for many of us kinship caregivers, it's lost meaning. Like, what do you mean take care of myself? When someone casually tells a caregiver to take care of themselves, the caregiver may feel frustrated and angry. I know I have. I'm like, what do you think I'm doing? I'm trying to take care of myself. You know, do you have any suggestions on how I can better take care of myself? I don't need you to tell me to take care of myself, right? Much easier said than done, right? Many kinship caregivers are natural caregivers. They have partners, children, jobs, aging parents who all require care and attention. Most days, the amount of energy they devote to other people, and other people's needs, it far exceeds any energy directed to their well-being. And I know that for a fact. In fact, just a little story about people and other people's needs. Yesterday, my grandson, I'm at work, so I got a full caseload of people to see. Around 11 o'clock, I get a call. I'm about to walk into an appointment. It's from his school. He got kicked in the head with a soccer ball, and it was hurting. And they were telling me the symptoms. Sounded like he had a concussion, right? So I'm talking to the school nurse, and she's like, hey, can you come get Dennis? I said, yes. I said, listen, because my 11 o'clock is here already, is this serious? Because I'll leave right now if you think that it's major, or, otherwise I'll see the patient and I'll leave, right? Because I'm not too far from the school. And they were like, the nurse is like, no, he's with me. I talked to him. He sounded coherent, right? At the same time, I had already had plans to later in the day after work, go to my mother's house who's aging, and I'm also her caregiver, and move some furniture for her because her apartment complex is giving her a new washer because her washer is broken, right? And she had a china closet that had to be moved with all these glasses in it, right? So I'm like, oh man, this day is going to be forever. Like, that's all I'm thinking. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's just going to be a forever day. Needless to say, I got everything done. I got him to the emergency room. He does have a mild concussion. He's home today. He's resting. And I alerted the school. I did everything that I needed to do. I did make it to my mom's house, and I moved her china closet and put all her glasses away and did her dishes and and I was home by 8 o'clock. So, and I knew I had this presentation to do today. But, so I know that there are barriers to self-care. What did I do for self-care? I listened to a guided meditation when I slept last night, just so you know. Next slide. All right. So many kinship caregivers really want to be there for their families. They may be holding down a full-time job and want to remember birthdays. They may want to volunteer at their child's school. They may want to deliver a meal to a sick friend, help out at church, and serve on a task force that addresses children's needs. So they work longer and try harder to meet the needs of their family, and they sometimes forget to meet their own needs, right? Many kinship caregivers simply do not know what would help them. They know something's missing and can't put their finger on it. Additionally, too many kinship caregivers believe they somehow shouldn't need support. And I just wanted to repeat that last thing, that additionally, too many of us feel like we shouldn't need support. And I know that I've felt that sometimes in life, not always, but sometimes. Like I do the, geez, I'm a professional and I've got all these degrees and I should know how to do this and that and the other and still be okay. And I'm human, right? Next slide. I love this slide because clearly I'm a little bit of a storyteller, right? Stories are good. So I love this slide because one thing that a lot of people don't know about me is I married and divorced very early in life. I had 2 children from that marriage. My daughter is the mother of my grandson, right? But when I was going through a divorce, it felt like a midlife crisis. And I decided I wanted to do something that I always wanted to do. So I became a flight attendant for a year. And it was fun. It was pre 9/11. Being a flight attendant before 9/11 was just so different than it is now. Then I'll just put that out there. But, one of the things that a flight attendant always says is, should the cabin lose pressure, oxygen masks will drop from the overhead area. Please place the mask over your own mouth and nose before assisting others, right? So when we get to the question and answer, remember this, because I'm going to ask you, why did they do that, right? I'm going to give you the answer right now, but why did they do that? And why do you think it's important for you to put the oxygen mask over your face first before you put it over somebody else's, right? The bottom line is if we don't take care of us first, there is no us. And if we don't take care of us and we're taking care of all these other people, then none of them get taken care of either, right? If we're not here, nobody gets taken care of. And I feel like, well, and I've again learned behavior, right? I've learned that, and sometimes the hard way, that even if it's super hard to take care of me first, I've got to do it. And it's not selfish. Next slide. The road to good self-care, right? Research shows that in order to overcome social, mental, and emotional barriers to self-care, kinship caregivers must first come to understand the importance of taking care of themselves, right? So there's that, take care of yourself first, right? So now let's talk about how do we do that, right? Little things, right? Let's start with little things. Build self-care into your daily routine, right? Believe that you're worth taking care of, right? I think that sometimes, because many of us are just natural givers, it is hard for us to like take that little bit of time because we're so used to giving. And we've got to fill up our glass of water, right? We've got to fill ourselves up in order to pour into other people, right? Believe that happiness and well-being are essential for good parenting. Next slide. So what I did here is, I there's my visuals again, right? I found this little thing. So it talks about areas of self-care and examples of self-care. So some of the areas that we might want to look at are these areas, like what is our personal self-care? And these are just some examples, like under personal, hobbies, knowing yourself, personal identity, those kinds of things. Space, like our personal space, other space, right? What do we need to self-care in that arena, right? And that might be safety, healthy living, security, other things like that. Financial, right? Because if we feel like we're struggling financially, or if there are barriers to in our finances, that can just impact us emotionally, spiritually, educationally, emotionally, like just all over the gamut, right? And so think about it. What areas do I need to self-care in? And this is a great time to talk about these things too, because it is the beginning of the year, right? And a lot of us are setting goals for this year. And setting goals are good. And again, I just, for myself, sometimes I need to remind myself that it's a goal, and sometimes things might get in the way of that goal. And what did I do to kind of to kind of help manage getting over that hump, right? And then we may be looking at work goals or work self-care, right? So in the right column, what I did was, these are some of the things that I do. When we have our discussion in a moment, I want to hear from you all what you do for self-care, right? So for me, talking to someone, a friend, a therapist, someone else, that's really good, because for me, it's letting go of some of those things that I tend to push down throughout the day. A lot goes on in my days. I don't know about you. I'm pretty sure for your days as well. And I think that sometimes things like build up, and we're just like, oh, I'm okay. Oh, I'm okay. And we keep pushing it down. And then eventually things spill over, right? Journal, gratitude list. So I am big into, like, particularly when I'm feeling down, I journal, I used to journal like daily, but it's not something I feel that I need to do daily. But gratitude list, I try to write at least one once a week. And what that does for me is, first of all, it puts me in a much better mindset, particularly if I'm feeling really down and the like. And then the other thing that it does is, it reminds me of all the wonderful things that are going on in my life, even when not so great things might be going on in my life. I meditate. I think I talked earlier about put last night, and I ended my day with a calm meditation. And that's one of the apps that I use every night. There are so many of them. I'm not trying to endorse any apps. You could find what works for you. For me, I have like the Calm app. I have a Sleep Sounds app. I have a Pray.com app. Sometimes I listen to YouTube because like I just want to fill myself with something positive. So I'll find specific YouTube videos that can kind of put me to sleep. Body scanning meditations, all of those things. It's a really nice way to end your day. Take a bath or a shower. I'm not a big bath person. Once in a while, I do like to just soak in a bath. But man, showering off the day feels so good to me. And so I do that every day. And that just feels amazing. Get a massage or a massager. I said or a massager because sometimes we don't have time to get a massage, right? But I have some bursitis in my right hip, and I bought that one of those like pumper massages, and not very expensive. It was on Amazon, and it is probably like one of the best things I ever got for me, because I also like to take walks and hikes. And so I do a lot of hiking, and then like even after I stretch out, there may be some pain in there. So it always like kind of works out that kink for me.
You got
And
some thumbs up on the massage idea. So others are also using that. And others, just as you're going, I wanted you to know that folks are really appreciative of what you're saying, and are definitely with you on your thoughts about the importance of self-care. So you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you so much. Thanks for the feedback. I can't wait to hear more of what they said. This is actually like my last little piece. And what I thought I would do is I'm going to actually flip the last two slides. I'm going to go to questions, and then we're going to end with the guided meditation. Okay. But I'll just get through the rest of these. The engage in positive self-talk. And I put that there because, oh my gosh, as a therapist, I hear how a lot of our natural dialogue is negative, right? And it's not negative purposeful. It's negative because we feel so overwhelmed. We feel like, we're like, oh my God, can I really do that? Oh man, I got to talk to that teacher again. You know what I mean? And little things that I'm saying, like right now, you all are doing something amazingly positive for yourself. You are on a self-care presentation, and you're trying to build in ways to take care of yourself, right? This is your time. This is your hour. Remind yourself that you did that for you, and you deserve it, right? Breathe. Get some alone time. Exercise, run, walk, whatever it is that you do. And it doesn't have to be anything major. Again, I usually circle the parking lot in my complex, my townhouse complex. And it's so funny because people look for me every day because I've been doing it for so many years. They're like, they usually some people come out of their house to say hello. Hey, see you walking again. I'm like, yeah. Yeah. Church, spiritual community. I'm not telling people what to believe or anything else like that. For me, it works, right? I don't know what I would do without my spiritual community. Support groups. So Kelly talked about this earlier, right? She talked about all the support groups that her program offers. And I just think that support groups and not feeling alone are so important. So if you can jump on one of those or jump into one of those, awesome. Sleeping and eating healthy. I try to do that to the best of my ability. Sometimes I do have a lot of problems sleeping, and that's why I use the meditation apps. Sometimes, and I'm not endorsing this either, but I know that sometimes for me, my doctor has told me to use melatonin because it's hard to shut this mind off. Ask for help, right? Please, it's okay to ask for help. And respite, respite for you and respite for your kids is important. And I ended with cry because a lot of times people don't really recognize the benefits of crying. Crying is like our body's natural way of releasing. And so if you feel like you need to take some time to cry, please do. So we'll go to the questions. That's all I have right now. And then we'll come back to the body scan. questions, discussion. It doesn't necessarily have to be questions.
Well, several people have shared some great strategies for self-care. We have, massage seems to be the popular one, a lot of that. And someone mentioned that a good laugh can turn things around. That can
Absolutely.
be the best medicine that we have. So keep them coming in. Let's keep sharing. Sunshine exposure, getting outside. Actually write it in your calendar to get out and absorb some sun.
Yeah.
Some more. Come on. Someone's finding The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel as one of those awesome, funny shows to escape into.
A number of folks journaling, writing and journaling seems to be another technique that is popular.
Any more?
And one thing we can do, because we don't have a huge group, if you want to raise your hand, we can unmute you, and you can actually share directly through audio. And I know that some of our staff at Forum Families Forward is here, including our kinship consultant, Sarah Smalls, who met with Dr. Liliakos and me early on, and is a kinship caregiver herself, and is one of our big advocates for kinship care and self-care. So let us know if you have something to contribute.
We have another one, two more that just came in. Affirmations, setting intentions for the day, daily gratitude and devotional journals, read self-improvement books. And then another one that's a lot of fun, singing and dancing is another way that someone finds the best to improve their mood.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So I know for me, going outside and walking in the woods helps, just getting away from all of the noise going up and down the street.
Yeah.
So
I wonder, Dr. Liliakos, if you can share a little bit, because you are parenting a child with special needs, if you found strategies to help your child, your grandchild, the child in your care, also discover the benefits of self-care techniques, and how do you help them focus in, and how do you help the school help them recognize the importance of self-care, even in a school setting?
Yeah, sure. So how do I help him? It's kind of twofold, because whatever I do, it kind of goes hand in hand with him. So as I mentioned earlier, he had a lot of therapies from early on, which he grew out of over time, because that's the goal, to get better, to get well, right? Some things, like he'll live with autism, and he's more Aspergery now, which and a lot of reasons why he got to where he is because of, there was a time in our life where there were a number of therapists in our home that were working. I want to say maybe between the ages of 7 and 9. I don't think that there was a day that there was not a therapist in our house. Maybe on a Sunday, that was it, you know what I mean? And like, not all of them were, like, we had a behavioral therapist at one time, we had regular family therapy, we had in-home therapy, he had a social skills therapist, so somebody that could socialize him in the community, and he used to take him out into the community to like different, we were living upstate New York at the time, so there were different gaming places, and I did feel fortunate that I lived upstate New York, because they did have a lot of access to different things for grandparent caregivers and their families. And respite was actually something that was just automatically given to kinship families upstate New York. So he also once a month did respite. which was really healthy for both of us. It gave me some downtime during the week, and then on the weekends to kind of just do me. And then it gave him time to learn how to be with other people and understand what that home's expectations may be and things like that. So all of those things really helped. At the school piece, well, early on, it was very challenging. I mean, I got an IEP for him by the time he was in first grade. Kindergarten was fighting us on it. And then by first grade, he had an IEP. And really, depending on which school, it depended on how active I had to be in the school. So elementary school, very hands-on. Middle school, of course, we have our IEP meetings. I kind of felt like they had a better understanding of what his needs were. High school, it's hit or miss. I mean, he's in high school now. And I feel like, honestly, and I think it's really the high school's expectations, because they're thinking, well, he's going to be an adult, so we have to push him to adulthood. And I feel like I have to do a lot of reaming back in of, yeah, he's going to be an adult and he has an IEP and we need to adhere to the IEP, right? And so advocacy on my part, and he's very well versed. Like a lot of kids, people don't see him as autism or autistic, because he's now kind of morphed into the Aspergery stage. So he's much more high functioning, and he's very articulate. He, he models me. He's been watching me his whole life. So it's funny, because I do kind of laugh sometimes when I see a lot of me in him, but I had a lot of supports, and he had a lot of supports, and I think he will tell you that those supports have really set him up for success in life. Getting those supports can sometimes be tricky, as we all know, because it depends on where you live and what's offered in that community. And that's something that I did speak with Kelly and Sarah about when I first started to talk about this talk that I wanted to do. That we recognize that resources in this community, for this community, can be challenging. For grandparent caregivers, can be challenging. For kinship caregivers, can be challenging. And I think advocating is a big piece of it. Educating is a big piece of it. One of the things that I did not share that I will share now is, so you all know I have my doctorate. Kelly and Sarah know that I got my doctorate, and my topic is the implication of grandparent caregivers raising grandchildren on the autism spectrum. And so that, I felt like I needed to do something more with the educating people part, and I'm glad that I did finally finish that doctorate in early 2021. And my next step goals for that doctorate is kind of creating smaller research articles to help people better understand the needs of caregivers, what policymakers need to do for caregivers, grandparent and kinship caregivers, and so you asked about Dennis. I think the things that I do for me and for him, and the writing and all these other things, have been very helpful. Thanks for your question. If do you have any other thoughts or questions? If not, yeah, okay.
Yeah. Yes, we have someone who has shared that the biggest self-care thing that they have discovered for their child over the pandemic was a sensory swing. They installed it in their house, and now the child will go over there by themselves when they need to self-regulate, and they will also walk over there when the caregiver can tell she needs to regulate a bit, and she'll prompt the child to go and use the swing. The one thing they have right now is a pod swing, which is something similar. The child can sit in it and has a back where they can spin, and they also have a cuddle swing. Oh, I want to come to their house. They have a lot of fun stuff. A cuddle swing and a spandex lycra swing for indoor use, as well as a saucer swing in the backyard. And then in school, uh, they said it's very challenging as the child is not allowed to have access to the swings. The schools can't install them, and it's been hard to find ways to get the child to get to that same reciprocative or vestibular feedback that helps calm them down.
Yeah. So first of all, wow, lots of swings. So it sounds good. I wonder, so just a question. So it sounds to me like the school is trying to support your child to the best of their ability. I wonder, what are they doing with the child to help? Because I've heard schools do a lot of different things. If they can't like necessarily mimic what you might be doing at home. I remember when my grandson was younger and he needed a lot more sensory stuff. When he was, his classrooms, they usually had like a corner, so they had a corner with sensory items in it, that really helped significantly. They had like sensory books, they had like so softer, furrier books. And I know COVID has put kibosh on a lot of things, but maybe even things that you might be able to bring in for your child specifically that they might be able to use to maybe manage some of the overstimulation in the class. I just wonder if they're doing anything like that to try to help.
Well, we will look for a response from that commenter. I know she is an expert parent and an expert in addressing some of the more special needs in schools. So I look forward to the answer to that. In the meantime, we have, I think, Bianca, one of our consultants and a kinship caregiver herself, is willing to maybe share something. Bianca, I'm unmuting you if you had something you'd like to, well, I'm trying. I think you need to unmute yourself, maybe, Bianca. There you go.
Hi there. Thank you so much for this presentation. It's been lovely. Yes, I am a kinship caregiver of my nephew, and he was just recently diagnosed with reactive attachment disorder, which is not surprising. He had 5 placements before my home when he was a foster child. And so my question for you specifically surrounding self-care is, I love self-care. I love a lot of self-care. I love to be in quiet moments with myself. I love meditation. I love the quiet. I love to go out. I love to go to dinner. I love to spend time in the community as well. So like just having a balance, like I don't go out all the time, but what I've experienced with my son is those moments that I do get alone time or do take a shower or do go out to dinner, he is not really capable of handling our separation. And so I need to learn how to better maybe prepare him for the moments that I am going to have self-care, and that it is okay for us to have separation.
Yeah. How old is your nephew?
He's 13.
He's 13.
But mentally, emotionally, probably I would say 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Sometimes 5 still, but so physically he is 13.
Yeah. So I'm imagining when you go out, there's a caregiver, like a babysitter or something.
Oh yeah, my husband.
Yeah.
My husband's with him. It's interesting. It does not matter that dad's here, because the bond in the bond that we created, I was his number one caretaker at 5, and I still am.
Yeah.
My husband's the breadwinner. He's the care, he's the provider financially. So when I'm home with my son, 90% of the time it's just me and him. So you can imagine when the one time a month that I do get to like leave the house, he's just looks out the window, constantly harasses my husband. When is he coming home? So then there brings up the guilt of that. Like, I don't want to put him in stress and strain our relationship. So trying to find that balance of in teaching him that self-care and having alone time and quiet time or doing our own thing is healthy. And how would you suggest or recommend getting to that?
Yeah. Remind me, how long have you had him again?
7 years.
7 years. Yeah. So you mentioned some key things. So I talked a little bit about attachment issues in the presentation. So reactive attachment, it's different for different kids, as you well know. And it's gonna, even though it may seem like, wow, it's been 7 years, you would think he'd feel like I'm coming back, right? But he's, you said one, his presentation mentally is a lot younger than his stated age, right? And then two, you mentioned trauma. He's been in a lot of different foster homes. We don't know what happened in those homes. And, he's still scared, right? So what I would say is, what Dennis, I used to I would prepare him so much ahead of time. And I'm not saying like 2 weeks in advance, but I would physically take out a calendar. Hey, on this day, I'm going to be doing this for a couple of hours, but I'm going to be back, right? And we would count down the days. And then sometimes what I would do is I would ask, because like I said, I didn't have a partner, but I had really good friends. And I would say, hey, I'm going to take you to Miss Marlene's house and she's going to do something fun with you. Sometimes my friend, I have been blessed with some great friends. During the summers, they had a pool and he loved the water. So he would go over, and she had grandchildren similar age to him, and go over there and have fun with them. And they all knew that he had special needs. So they were very, very good about making him feel warm and welcome. And I'm wondering if your husband can maybe, and it doesn't have to be anything fun, I mean anything expensive or anything, but maybe plans on this date, I'm going to do this, and dad's going to do this for you, and you guys are going to have an awesome time, and you can count down the days together and keep celebrating it, and let him look forward to something that might distract him during the 2 or 3 hours that you're out, so that you can self-care and not feel guilty, right? And I would say to try to do that, and keep trying to do that. And I think eventually he is going to grasp onto the fact that, oh, she's going to come back, right? Right now it's probably hard because, again, younger presentation than his stated age, and attachment issues are wicked and trauma producing and look different in all kids, and take time to work through. And so I just want to offer that for you. So give yourself that time to work through it.
Thank you so much for that suggestion. I'll definitely communicate it with my husband. And I think it's a good idea. My husband's probably never thought of that because he's like, well, mom's out, but that doesn't mean we have to go out. But I also think it'll build the bond and relationship with them, which, because for 7 years, they haven't really had a lot of that. It would be supportive in the attachment of father, son.
Yeah.
In addition to what he already feels. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Thanks, Bianca, for your question and comments. Lisa, I think we have a response to the sensory issue, and then because our time is getting a little short, we're going to move into your guided meditation. But you'll see, if you have to scoot out, that we do have the evaluation link in the chat box. So even if you do have to scoot, please do take a moment to fill out that evaluation. It's hugely helpful to us as we plan our programming. Lisa, let's hear about the sensory answer.
The sensory answer, the child is prevented handheld sensory fidgets. They also have sensory fidget kit in their backpack, as well as frequent breaks written into their IEP. And there is a yoga ball. The student receives OT, PT, and adaptive PE in school. So they work on incorporating what they can to meet the needs of the child.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I kind of figured that you were going to say something like that. And, I know Kelly said you're an expert. So, I was pretty, with all those swings, I was pretty sure you're doing something with the school. And, and then the other thing is, as we know, our special needs kids have to learn to adapt to certain things, and that can be challenging and that can take time. Yeah. 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 So those of you that can remain, I'll try. I can't guarantee you how long this is going to be, but I try to keep it somewhere between 5 and 7 minutes, just so you have like a time frame. I wanted to just invite you to just kind of breathe with me. And I wanted to take you through a brief body scanning meditation, if, for anyone that can stick around. And I think what's nice about this is it gives you a few minutes to breathe before you jump back into your day, right? So just for starters, I usually ask that when you're breathing, you breathe in to the count of 3 and then release to the count of 3, right? So as we begin this body scanning meditation, I'm going to invite you to just relax in whatever way that you feel that you can relax. Get comfortable on your couch, your chair, on your floor, wherever you are. This is your time, right? And we're just going to start by taking a nice deep breath in and release. And again, when you take the next deep breath in, I'm going to invite you to just, as you're relaxing, just lower your eyes if you feel comfortable lowering your eyes. And relax and just take a deep breath in. And release. And as you continue to breathe in to the count of 3 and release to the count of 3. I want you to, if your feet are planted firmly on the floor, just take a moment and breathe in. And as you're breathing in and releasing, you feel a nice relaxed feeling that's starting from your toes. And that relaxed feeling is moving from your toes into your feet, into your ankles, and into your legs. As you breathe in, and release. And as you continue to breathe in and release, you're breathing in relaxation, and you're releasing any stress and all tension, letting go of all the world's problems. Breathing in peace. And releasing any anxiety, any worry. As you continue to breathe in that peace and relaxation, you feel that peace and relaxation moving from your legs into your knees, into your thighs, and into your hips and your buttocks. As you breathe in peace, and release any worries, any anxieties, any stress from your day. Continue to breathe in goodness, peace, relaxation. Release all energies that do not serve you well. As we continue to breathe in peace and relaxation and goodness, we feel that peace, relaxation, and goodness moving from our hips and our buttocks into our stomach and our back. Moving into our chest and our shoulders. As we breathe in peace and relaxation. And we release any negative energies that don't serve us. All anxieties, all stress, all worries. Release all worries. And as we continue to breathe in peace and relaxation, we feel it move from our shoulders, down our arms, into our hands and our fingertips. And we release all stress, any anxieties, any negative thoughts about ourselves. Release them all. Breathe in goodness. And release. And as we continue to breathe in peace and relaxation, we move from our neck up through the back of our head into our face. And we just permeate pure white light of positive energy throughout our bodies. As we breathe in peace and we release all stress and anxiety. And as we continue to breathe, our full body is relaxed and full of peace and harmony and goodness, relaxation, joy, and comfort. And we release all negative energies that try to creep in. And as we continue to sit with that peace and relaxation, we're going to continue to breathe in and release. And when you're ready, we're going to slowly just bring ourselves back into the room and wiggle our toes and our fingers, rub our thighs, and when we're ready, we can open our eyes. I hope you all enjoyed my presentation today. I hope you take a moment to self-care, always. It was so nice spending this time with you. Thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Lisa, for all that you do.
Thank you. That was wonderful. And thanks for all of you who stayed with us and got a little bit of extra time with us today. And again, the slides are available for your download, and a recording of this, including that wonderful meditation, will be available on our website probably by tomorrow. So take good care, stay safe and well. And again, so much appreciate your time, Dr. Lilia.
Thank you.
Take care.
How do I sign myself out?
That's okay. I'm going to shut you down, and you don't need to even worry about it. We'll take care of that for you.
Okay. Thanks again. Bye.